So cognitive dissonance is where you have two disagreeing ideas from a logical standpoint occurring in your mind at once. So from one perspective, it doesn't make any sense to do something in a way that is more difficult than another way, right? So logically, if I can get this result, which is, elk meat for dinner,
Yeah.
and there's an easier way to do it, logically, I should do that, right? Our species, like other species, are built off of efficiency.
Yep.
Like that is one of the primary mechanisms of survival. On the other hand, if we do something a more difficult way, then in order for that to be rational in our minds, we have to then bring up the importance of success through that more difficult method. So we would say to ourselves, if I go out and I do this at high altitude on public land with a bow, and I leave my phone in the truck so I have no information, then if I get that elk, it must be worth more. It must be worth more. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense for me to do it.
Yeah.
That's cognitive dissonance. That gets compounded with our egos too, right? So it's like, okay, if I do this with a bow, then that must mean that I'm a better person. I'm a better hunter than the people who are not doing it with a bow.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to accept additional risk of wounding this animal and a higher risk of me not getting anything at all. Because if I do get something, it's worth more if I take this avenue, if I take this method. And that's just part of being a human being. Like it's in us.
Robin Hood and Little John are walking through the forest, laughing back and forth at what the other
shot angle is important. That's where it breaks down for so many people. Yeah, it's worth talking about.
It really is. So so this bull, he ended up getting shot kind of no man's land. He did die. I mean, in hindsight, I know that now. I was hiking a mountain over hunting the next year and stumbled onto him and found my arrow in the bone pile.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you, as I was doing some homework on you, you have an opinion about broadheads for sure.
I do. Yeah.
And when young hunters ask me like, well, what should I use? I'm like, bro, you will get a million different answers from a million different guys, and you'll never really know for yourself unless you just kind of go, I'm going to listen to what James has to say about it. Right. And that's my suggestion. I tell people, hey, I only killed maybe 35, 40 animals, I don't have a lot of market research, and I've done it with a lot of different broadheads. Right. And I always tell them, like, anything will work if the shot placement's perfect. Most every broadhead that's out there, you know what I mean, will work well.
That's not necessarily true, though.
Touch on it. Tell me. I like it.
Well, I've seen a lot of critters killed in the last 25 years of guiding with a variety of equipment, and I've seen that equipment evolve with technology and access to information in all kinds of ways. But I had a client here a few years ago who, I think he's 6'2" or 6'3", great big guy, tremendous athlete. He was actually an Olympic gold medalist. He was in the Hall of Fame for his sport.
Good.
Very, very accomplished, and he was a good shot as well, as athletes tend to be. Athletes, generally speaking, tend to pick up other things like shooting really quickly, and they do well. He took a shot at a bull out of a tree stand that was either 23 or 24 yards away, right in there. Mm-hmm. Really, really good zone. And his shot placement was perfect. It was exactly where I want people to shoot the animal, which is straight down from the hump of the shoulder, a third of the way up their body. So this would have been right above the top of the heart.
Right.
Well, he was shooting a rage expandable broadhead, and that broadhead failed on a rib on the way in. Complete failure. It completely dulled both blades. The blades did not deploy. So what actually went into that animal was a really dull piece of cheap metal that was
basically a field point.
Yeah. But worse than that, because now it's arresting any type of momentum that it might have had. So now you're creating a bunch of drag with this dull piece of metal. So he only got one lung worth of penetration that didn't have enough cutting to cause any type of exsanguination. And that bull ended up making it a quarter mile, which is really common for one-lunged animals. That's what I find most of the time is animals shot in one lung make it between 400 and 500 yards. We didn't find him until the next morning, maybe half an hour after shooting light. Immediately got him to the shop, got the guts out of him, got him quartered, put him in our walk-in cooler that has a fan blowing on everything. It's 38 degrees. I went into the thick cuts of the meat and stuck my boning knife in there and just cut it into ribbons to increase the airflow and to get that heat out of there. We let it cool off until the afternoon, took it straight to the butcher shop, and they rejected that animal because that meat was already gone, which is also almost universally true. It is, if you leave an elk out overnight, your odds of recovering meat are, I want to say 15%, 20%
really
maybe.
low. In my experience, even in really cold nights.
It has nothing to do with the ambient air temperature, right? It has everything to do with how much food is actually in their stomach at the time, because that gets really, really hot as those bacteria replicate. Like
a wet bale of hay or something like that.
Yeah. So this was a guy who's shooting a 70-pound bow with a full metal jacket arrow with a huge draw length, who made a great shot, and we lost all the meat of a bull elk because of a broadhead failure.
Yeah.
So when people say all that matters is shot placement, I say, yes, shot placement is incredibly important. Shot angle is incredibly important. But it can all fail if that most important part of your equipment fails. And if you're using something that really isn't up to the task, then you can have that really painful failure. And I don't want that to happen to anybody.
Yeah. There's so much hard work that goes in it to even get out there in the first place, and the luck of, I guess maybe it's not luck. You would disagree with that maybe, but just for me, it feels like luck to get in front of a bull, and then to have that one, $12, blade that fails on you. It's like all the work and everything you've done,
And it's an animal's life. Like,
absolutely.
Like, how do you compare that to any amount of effort that we can put into it? It's their entire life. Like, show some compassion and think about it from their perspective a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree, because it's just, there is no worse feeling in the world, right, than a wounded animal. Like it just guts you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spent 2 nights just on the ground sleeping, walking, on a bull. The only other bull I've wounded and lost, shot him frontal from below. So he was way uphill of me. And I just didn't think in the moment of just how I need to drop that arrow and come in way lower than I would have thought. And I literally watched my arrow hit the piece of fur I was looking at, right? So in my mind, it was like perfect. But I followed him for 2 days. He bled a little bit. I got to where I could see him. I could track him by his footprint better than I could by the blood. You know how it is. You get to know the animal and you're like, that's my bull. I can tell you right now, that's my bull. And then 80 yards later, you find a drop of blood, right? It was an uphill frontal shot. And I just put the arrow too high, because in my mind, I hadn't had the reps in the field, live reps, and just thinking like this is always that piece of fur. You look at pictures, but it's always straight on and it's perfect. And the bull's looking at you and you're 30 yards away in the pictures. But in real life, he's above you, he's below you, it's never.
Also, frontals are a bad idea. When they work out, it's great. And it makes for a great video to post on the internet.
Yeah.
But people aren't posting all the videos of it not working out. It's such a crazy thing. That shot opportunity there is really small. And if you think about how those ribs lay in there and how each rib is a little bit farther out than the one before it, and how they're essentially at an angle that could not be more perfectly designed than to deflect a broadhead away from the organs, right? So a lot of people have had this mystifying experience of taking a frontal shot and they see the arrow go in and they get full penetration and they think, I got him. Like, that should be it. There should be a dead bull right here. But it just went right outside of the ribs all the way down that animal's body, and it didn't pierce any organs. Now, does that animal die? Maybe, maybe not. I really
we don't know 'cause we never find them, do we? Yeah.
nope. Or yeah, it's just hard to know. I try not to make those judgments in the field because, like, now they're going to be more vulnerable to infection, to predation. Are they going to be able to, migrate to their winter range? Like, you definitely contributed to a lower percentage survival for that animal, regardless of where you hit them with that projectile.
Yeah.
But no, I think the biggest thing that I would want to tell people about broadheads is that it is the most important piece of your entire kit, right? Your truck gets you to the trailhead. Your boots protect you from the ground. Your clothing protects your body and helps conceal you. Your pack carries all your stuff. Your bow is, holding onto your sight housing, and your quiver and your rest, and your knock is this crazy interface between this string that's providing incredible pressure into this arrow, and your vanes are stabilizing the arrow, and the arrow shaft itself is of the perfect spine to accept all that energy and then turn it into a gyroscopic stabilization that's traveling towards the target. But every single part of this is all designed to get that broadhead inside of the lungs of that animal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you put all this effort into all this other stuff, and then you decided to get cheap on the thing that all this other stuff is there to support, what are you doing? Like, it's the most important thing. It's the most important thing. Spend a little extra money on it.
Yeah. And guys often don't think about it. Like, what are you shooting? I don't really know this year. And you're like, really? Because you ought to be practicing with it, I would think, a little bit. You're just going to screw something on the end there and let it rip, I guess.
And practicing with a broadhead is a miserable experience. It sucks.
It is. Yeah.
I hate doing it. The day of the season where I decide, all right, it's broadheads from now on.
Yeah.
Like, my shooting drops off so substantially after that because I'm destroying targets. It's hard to pull my arrows.
Yep.
My flight dynamics have changed a little bit. I might have had to move my rest to balance things out. Like, there's all these factors that go into it. And yeah, it's a bad experience shooting broadheads. But yeah, you got to do it.
Absolutely. And so you single blade, single bevel.
That's my recommendation for anybody who's shooting at elk. Whitetail, they're a lot smaller animal. They're softer. Their bones are smaller. They don't have the same will to live that elk do.
Yeah.
I see a huge number of whitetail that get shot in the liver and are recovered in pretty short order. That doesn't happen with elk. It can, but typically it doesn't. So I do like single bevel. That's not the most important part of it to me. I want a broadhead that has a decent aspect ratio. So I don't want the blades at too obtuse or wide of an angle, because then it takes a lot more work to get it to penetrate. So
this thing you're pushing meat to the side.
Yep. So the more acute that angle is, the less work it takes to get it to penetrate.
Yeah.
We still need to get our inch or inch and an eighth of cutting diameter, but that's fine. I see people go bonkers over that extra eighth of an inch of cutting diameter. You need to think about your cut in terms of square footage instead of a moment. So your moment is that inch and an eighth. The square footage is, that inch and an eighth times 14 inches of penetration. So if I have an inch and a quarter broadhead and now I only get 12 inches of penetration, well, I've done less cutting with that than I did with my 14 inches at an eighth of an inch less. Does that make sense?
Yep, totally.
And then I want a broadhead that's really, really tough. And that's difficult to do with only 100 grains of material. That's a lot to ask of metal. So if we can get up to 150 grains, 175 grains, then we can add enough material to make it rigid enough. Because we're asking this thing to fly through the air while it's spinning in a straight line, and then hit muddy hair and flexible hide, and then really hard bones, and then be sharp enough to cut soft organ tissue that's 80% water, cut rubbery arteries and veins and vascular tissue that would love to just slide out of the way.
Yeah.
And then do it again on the other side of the animal so that we've got 2 holes in there.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot to ask. That's a lot to ask. So having something that's stronger, maybe made out of a single piece of metal, like a machined broadhead, is a good idea. And there's lots of companies that make them. I don't care which one you buy it from, but you know, get something good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. See?
Yeah, I mean, that opens my eyes in so many ways. Things I hadn't thought about. I guess rewinding it, so ambient temperature on something that you have down overnight has really no effect.
Very
I guess
little.
I'm in the mindset. I mean, I'm still trying to harvest my first elk, right? And so
Nice.
thinking about this, but in my mind always it was like, oh, when we're up high, if I find myself in that situation, we're probably okay. Even mid, early September, it's decently cold, and obviously some days are hotter than others. But
So you're okay in a couple ways. Absolute worst case scenario, you gut that animal and then you leave it on the ground, and you're probably going to have some meat loss in that scenario, but you've let the bulk of the heat out of that animal, and then all those digestive organisms, the protozoa, fungi, and bacteria that are breaking all those lignins down from that fibrous material that the elk is eating, now they're no longer replicating and creating heat. So you're not adding heat to the animal anymore. If you can get the skin off and those quarters hanging, dude, I don't care if it's 90 degrees outside. If you get those quarters hanging in the shade, that meat is going to be okay. It's really amazing because it's evaporating so much that it'll stay cool to the touch. But as far as like, I shot him at last light, I'll come back and look for him in the morning. You're gonna lose that meat, especially the side that is laying on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
How many days can that meat hang? I mean, how often do you say like, okay, 2 or 3? Because we'll do like when we're kind of deep backcountry, we don't want to just shoot it and then walk off the mountain, right? You're hoping to get another one down, or how many days is that okay there?
Lots of days. Lots and lots of days.
Yeah.
Okay, so the harmful things that can get you are botulism and listeria, and those would have to be introduced inside of that meat. So you'd have to have a cut inside of that meat for those things to start growing in there. They're not going to form on the surface of the meat. So the mold and things like that you see forming on the surface of the meat, especially if it's white in color, that's penicillin. It's very healthy. That's just fermenting. So I've hung meat for 6 months before.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. I want to talk about this. I've watched you take slices out of those.
Yeah.
I think it was a deer, I think it was a whitetail, like rear quarter, and you made like a prosciutto, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like refrigerators are new, fellas. Like we've been preserving meat with salt and smoke and dehydration for tens of thousands of years.
Right.
Refrigerators are brand new. So trying to use temperature as the primary way to preserve meat, that's new age stuff. So our species survived by our ability to preserve meat, to be able to carry it with us. And I think that a lot of the fermentation that goes on and the helpful bacteria that are part of that process are really critical aspects of our diet that a lot of us are actually missing from our diet today.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere without somebody talking about prebiotics and probiotics. People talking about the microbiome and gut health. all these little microorganisms that live inside of our body, every single one of them is older than us as a species, right? We're just a host for a trillion different organisms that are living inside of us, and
Right.
they're all older than we are. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm more of a parking spot than an individual, you know.
Yeah.
So
That's
I think it is important to have some of that stuff in our lives. You do it within reason. You don't want to get yourself sick, but yeah, with a little bit of salt and smoke and keeping meat in a place where the water can get out of it, that preserves it. When Lewis and Clark came west, when they're at Three Forks, because they're heading up the Missouri, so where the Jefferson, the Madison, and the Gallatin rivers come together.
Yep.
They buried bacon inside the riverbank, and they didn't eat it until they were on their way back the next year.
On their way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good.
That's amazing, right? Like that's just
Insane.
salt,
Yeah.
salt and pork buried in a riverbank.
Dude, where was I at in Montana? Is it Fort Benton? What's up past like the Missouri? It's on the Missouri. It's
out by Great Falls.
Yeah, by Great Falls. And it was just such a trip looking at that and thinking like, you sit back and you look at a map and you go, okay, Mississippi River. They go up, they take a hard left. Do you know what I mean? And thinking about coming from, I've driven from St. Louis over here and I'm going, what an incredible, absolutely incredible trip. And they were sitting out here. That was part of Louisiana Purchase, yeah?
Yes.
And so we go, hey, why don't you guys go check out, figure out what we got over there. You know what I mean? And just going up that river, and I was sitting in Fort Benton, and I was just like, holy hell, what a trip.
And then they trespassed, right? Because the Louisiana Purchase only went to the Rockies. So when they got to the Continental Divide,
that was it.
Over there at, I think, Lemhi Pass,
they
decided to keep going all the way to the Pacific. We had no rights there. So as soon as they get back, they kind of give their report on everything that they saw and experienced. They spent the winter there at what would become Astoria. And a friend of Thomas Jefferson's, John Jacob Astor, who was the richest man in the world, and in today's currency, I think would still be the richest man in the world. He put together an expedition that went overland, and as they were getting upriver into the plains, they met some fur trappers that said, hey, the Indians are still kind of pissed about Lewis and Clark killing one of them, so don't keep going this way or they'll kill you.
Yeah.
So they hooked south of the Tetons on the route that would become the Oregon Trail and the California Trail. Make it all the way to Astoria. Meanwhile, another ship has sailed all the way around South America and come up and sailed into the mouth of the Columbia. All this comes to a screeching halt during the War of 1812, and the British actually landed there and took that from them. But without that expedition, the West Coast is not part of America. Like, we would have stopped at the Rockies.
Right. Yeah, it's so crazy to think about. Just
the whole journey in itself, like looking back in childhood and like this big thing, Lewis and Clark, and then the passed away, but the movie Almost Heroes, right? And like, the funny spin on it, and it's like these big things and Sacagawea and like meeting the Indians, but it's like how much time was invested in like Lewis and Jefferson and like his skill with I can't think of what it's called, but like identifying animals and herbs and everything, and the documenting and just listening to the book. It's like he has so many species that are still his, discovering it at least into documentation and stuff, and just how massive that trip was. And Jefferson planning that out for, I think he was like 2 or 3 years. Lewis was planning, learning, schooling before taking off. And it was just such a huge piece for our growing country.
Another really interesting thing that I find that showed showed a lot of humility was that Lewis and Clark shared leadership, because Lewis was supposed to be the leader of the expedition, and they decided to treat each other as equals. That required a huge amount of humility, and throughout military history, I can't think of another example when that happened and it went well. There's lots of examples when that happened and it went really poorly, but that went well. And I think that shows just how important that duo was. And that's why it's the Lewis and Clark expedition and not the Lewis expedition. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had to make so many decisions on their own. And I guess once I started seeing like the journals and stuff, and it was so militaristic, like ran even out there. It was like they're getting court-martialed or whatever they call it. Like, hey, he drank too much last night. He's in trouble. Like they ran it, and they didn't have, you know, the big green weenie behind them calling shots or anything. It was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
they, and for 2 dudes, I mean, you hit that right on the head. Yeah, that's crazy.
And they had an
Making
air
all
rifle.
those calls. Yeah.
Like that's one of my favorite things is they had this crazy air rifle. It was like a 30 caliber muzzle loading air rifle that took 2,000 strokes to prime it. This is before rubber. Like they didn't have seals. This was metal on metal. This had to be precision machining during a time where that was all done by hand, holding incredible PSI. Like I couldn't even imagine. And then they got multiple shots out of it. They killed a bear with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's insane.
Their artillery, what is it? If one of the tribes along the way would have ransacked them and taken all their ammunition and guns, it would have been the most armed Indian tribe or in the country. Like they would have been stacked.
Shit. What was the book you were reading on this?
It's a compilation of their diaries. It's really popular. I can't think of the name right now, but
what is it, James?
Undaunted Courage, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a big one. It's like 26 hours on Audible, 24 hours or something. But
nice.
Their stories about meeting grizzly bears is so fun. Of like the hype, they were so excited, you know, and they're like, Native Americans were like, you don't want to mess with them. And they're like, we'll see. And then the first one's like, not that bad. And the second one's like, I think we have our taste of this. We're good.
We're done with grizzly bears now.
Yeah. The real unsung hero of the expedition, in my opinion, is John Coulter. He's such a fascinating character. I don't know how much you've read about him, but really amazing.
He's then to go on and the national park. Yellowstone and all that, right? And he was kind of big in finding that. Is that correct?
Yeah, but, I mean, he'd been out on another fur trapping trading expedition and was on his way back to St. Louis when he met Lewis and Clark going upriver, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm good on town. I'll just go with you guys."
Oh shit! I didn't know that. Yeah.
So he jumps on the expedition, becomes one of their hunters, keeps these guys fed. They're eating between 9 and 18 pounds of meat per person per day. Like he had to kill a lot of stuff to keep these boys fed.
Dude, a deer goes fast. If you've ever tried to like go, we're gonna go up to hunt camp to shoot a deer and eat it.
Yeah.
Like you eat through a deer like in 4 or 5 days.
Right.
It's kind of crazy how fast you'll eat through one animal.
And you're not dragging, 10,000 pounds of boats upriver every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Nope. Absolutely.
So he goes on the expedition. He's a critical member of the success. He's scouting routes and doing all this stuff. Well, when they're on their way back to St. Louis, he's almost on his way back. Now he can pick up 2 paychecks from the last 2 expeditions if he just goes to town, sees another trip coming up river, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to go with them. And he goes on about that, becomes the first European to find Yellowstone National Park, which was originally called Coulter's Hell. Had incredible adventures along that way. Was very almost killed by Indians multiple times, and just a really interesting character in history.
That's cool. Yes,
so
I'll need to plug that book back in somewhere so I can find it, because that sounds like an absolute good read. I'm not much of a reader. Everything I know about American history comes from Louis L'Amour.
Okay.
Admittedly, because I've read literally all of his books, I think, and but the guy was such a historian, and so if you know, my wife will tell you, I'll read a book and I'll sit here with my phone and go, "There's no way this is real," you know, and Google it and go, "Yeah, sure enough." Like he's pretty much he is just kind of blending American history in with, you know, one of the Sackett boys or whoever else he's making up that time. But so yeah, most of my understanding of American history, if I'm being really honest, comes from me reading Louis L'Amour. You know,
not a bad way to go.
Yeah, good place to start.
Sick is a good book. If you haven't read that, that's a good. My Kindle is full of Louis L'Amour, and so when I go hunting, it's just that's all it is. I just keep it in my backpack, and so all the middays or late nights when the sun's set and you got nothing to do, I'll just read a book. You know,
I think I've read all of Louis L'Amour. I think my favorite is probably Last of the Breed, his last book.
Bro, dude, that is such a good book. It takes place in Russia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
everybody's all spun out about Jack Carr and the stuff that he's writing today. Like, man, you need to read Last of the Breed because this story's been told already, and it's good.
It's really good. Yeah. And just all the strategic stuff in that Last of the Breed of him. You know what I mean? And one of the funny things, Louis L'Amour, it's every book is he started his fire with dry branches, so he didn't make a lot of smoke. You know what I mean? You could fit the fire in a cup. It's just it's in every book. But just even Last of the Breed, just strategically him sitting on the right and wrong hillsides, and there's just so many moments where I'm like, where it paints you a picture of you being there, and also you go like, I'd have been dead forever ago, like that tough son of a bitch, you know. Good God. Yeah, that and The Walking Drum. The Walking Drum is one of my favorite books.
Absolutely.
Just a place where it takes place in history of like 1000 AD and just kind of world history at that time. And for me, it was so educational. I'm like, if history class was this way, and I could, engage with it with like, just lead like assassins. The word assassins comes from Ashishans, right? And it's just those guys would get all high on hash and go out and murder people. And that's where we get the word assassins, right? And it's just like, I would way rather learn this way through a badass adventure book rather than, whatever dumbass teacher I had teaching me.
I think kind of like my generation still, like in the military too, when Jack Carr came like onto the scene. But I think kind of getting that action piece with the research side of it and stuff like that.
The Jack
I don't know, at least like kind of new for what felt like my era, like
of military,
like diving into some books like that and stuff. I don't know.
I'm not trying to badmouth Jack. Jack, he's such a nice guy. He's a sweet guy. He's been very successful as a writer.
Yep.
But
he's not Louis L'Amour.
Yeah.
No.
I guess I just see more of my peers getting into that world and then seeing it from a Jack Carr.
I'm gonna sneak a drink just because I'm having a hard time. Is that okay?
Yeah, what you need?
Dude, just whatever's sitting underneath the table there. Sorry to interrupt, guys.
No,
I'm just
good.
like sitting here going like, hey.
Well, I'm sure you guys didn't want to talk about American history and pop literature. So
yeah,
where do we go?
To be really honest, like it's our fucking podcast.
We don't have a.
All right.
You and I can talk about whatever we want to, and all 30 of our listeners will have to just put up with our shit.
I mean, I learned more than anything just on a Broadhead topic already. So.
Yeah, let's introduce this real quick.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I love it. But see, they'll have to wait for the introduction.
It just comes later.
You guys listen to the Ruckless podcast. We got myself, Brian Trainer, my brother. I call him Bubba Tyrel Trainer.
Yep.
We're just a couple.
Tyrel Sackett, who I'm named after.
Yeah, he's named after one of the Sacketts.
Go on.
And then James Nash. James, thank you for joining us. We're already 36 minutes into the conversation. And we're going to keep going with it because, yes, I do actually like talking about American history and how we all got here.
I can keep going.
It's because I think
perfect.
I think that's part of why we go out and adventure, because I think we're holding on to those books. We're holding on to those adventures. We want to be a little bit of us all, at least I know, me and the men I hang out with, we all want to be that cowboy on the back of a horse. You know what I mean? Not hunting just for fun, but hunting because that's dinner. And you read books and, actually I saw you talk about this, or I heard you talk about it, but the book, The Hatchet, was the first book. It's not the first book I read. It's the first book I remember reading.
Yeah.
And I must have done like 8 book reports on that in between junior high and my freshman year of high school, because it's just like, I loved it. I must have read it 10 times. I wanted to be that kid so bad, trapping fish in the lake and having to, subside on that. And so I think that's just all we're doing today, is just kind of trying to pull the thread of that we have kind of in us as a kid. So, yeah. So,
and we
James,
all want to be tested in a way that we can barely prove ourselves worthy, like none of us wants to be tested to a point of failure. But if we can get in a situation like that and it is touch and go, and it's going to take everything that you have to succeed or survive, and you make it, there's not another feeling like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. And I think that's just it. You want to put, sometimes we use the weapon to put the odds against us just enough, right? Or it's the terrain, or it's the hike in, or it's the animal themselves, or all of it. But there has to be, I think the equation has to equal, somewhere along the line has to equal like high probability of failure. We don't want to die out there, but I'm probably not going to succeed. Or I want it to be, I want the odds against me, because I want to feel like I overcome something. I want to struggle. I got to go out and struggle.
That's cognitive dissonance.
Tell me more. Explain that.
So cognitive dissonance is where you have two disagreeing ideas from a logical standpoint occurring in your mind at once. So from one perspective, it doesn't make any sense to do something in a way that is more difficult than another way, right? So logically, if I can get this result, which is, elk meat for dinner,
yeah,
and there's an easier way to do it, logically, I should do that, right? Our species, like other species, are built off of efficiency.
Yep.
Like that is one of the primary mechanisms of survival. On the other hand, if we do something a more difficult way, then in order for that to be rational in our minds, we have to then bring up the importance of success through that more difficult method. So we would say to ourselves, if I go out and I do this at high altitude on public land with a bow, and I leave my phone in the truck so I have no information, then if I get that elk, it must be worth more. It must be worth more. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense for me to do it. Yeah. That's cognitive dissonance. That gets compounded with our egos too, right? So it's like, okay, if I do this with a bow, then that must mean that I'm a better person. I'm a better hunter than the people who are not doing it with a bow. Yeah. So I'm willing to accept additional risk of wounding this animal and a higher risk of me not getting anything at all, because if I do get something, it's worth more if I take this avenue, if I take this method. And that's just part of being a human being. Like it's in us.
How have you kind of dealt with that on your end? As far as, I know the exact thing, right? Because even as you shoot a compound bow, then you start looking across the room at the trad bow you've had on the wall for 10 years, and you go, maybe I should pick that up. Maybe I should whittle my own damn arrows too while I'm at it, And it's and you feel that thing, and like, how do you reckon with that? Because I'll tell you what, there's nothing better in the world than going from archery season to rifle season, and you go, oh, thank God, I spotted elk. Like, I'm probably going to shoot an elk today. You know what I mean? And archery season, it's like, well, okay, now how am I even going to get? What am I going to do now? But I love it. Everybody, like a lot of archery guys, are like, oh, I won't touch a rifle. I'm like, God dang, it's an absolute freaking blast to have a rifle in your hand. I love it.
Yeah, if you try to push archery guys on that at all, it ends up running into a wall. The conversation does. It's like, well, why do you bow hunt? Well, I like it. What do you like about it? Well, I like getting close to the animals. Like, oh yeah, I remember that law that says you're not allowed to shoot animals from close range with a rifle. Yeah, that's odd that they wrote that, but yep, you've got to be at least 300 yards away, otherwise it's illegal.
Or 600, or again, play the ego into it, right? And you go, what about, the guy's like, oh, I shot him from 850. You're like, cool, whatever.
Sure. Like, you're just doing math outside at that point. But look, whatever makes you happy. I'm not I'm absolutely not here to criticize somebody else's method. I think of the hunt in reverse order that most people do. I think a lot of people think about their gear and then their tactics, the logistics, the hunt itself, and, then, taking the shot, taking a picture, packing meat out, getting it home to the freezer, cooking it for dinner. I think of it in the exact opposite order. It's like, okay, I want to cook this meat in this way for my friends and family. What has to happen in order for that to happen? Well, I need to get it out of the field cleanly so that it's cold. All right, let's solve that problem. What's next? Well, I need to get it butchered off the animal. All right, I need skills and knives to be able to do that really well. What's next? Well, it's not going to let me cut its back straps out while it's still standing there, so I need to figure out how to make it dead. Then my ethics get involved. I say, all right, this is a living animal that I love. I love this animal. I love everything about it. I love its entire species and its way of life, and I have an infinite amount of respect for that. So if I'm going to kill that animal, I need to do so in a way that preserves the quality of that meat, preserves the quality of my experience in interacting with that animal at the end of its life to the greatest extent possible. And then for me, that means I need to err on the side of precision and lethality to the greatest extent that is legally available. So if I have the option of hunting with a precision rifle or hunting with something that is less precise and less lethal, well, I'm going to err on the side of lethality. I'm going to err on the side of precision. And, I work the whole hunt backwards in that way because my end state is coming from a place of me, getting that meat, serving it to myself and my friends and my family, and making sure that the animal suffers minimally. But through that minimal suffering, I also get the highest quality of meat possible. And that is so true. I can taste when an animal didn't die slowly in the first bite of meat.
Yeah.
In these butcher shops that are killing cattle, they get what are called dark cutters. And if a cow comes in there that is stressed, they can see it in the color of the meat, and that meat is discarded. It does not get butchered. The way that we're killing some of these elk and deer and other wildlife causes them a huge amount of stress, and I can see it in the color of the meat, and I can taste it. Yeah,
That's crazy.
That's what comes into some of these lethality things I'm talking about with broadheads, and some of the stuff I'm talking about with shot placement. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not just trying to pop lungs. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm actually aiming at, and this is going to sound cocky as hell, so forgive me. I'm aiming at the aorta. So the largest artery that's going into the heart. What I want is to cut the aorta so that heart can continue pumping, and it can take all of the blood that's in the veins that's coming into the heart from the pulmonary, and it can pump all that out into that animal's chest, and that's going to starve the animal's brain of oxygen, because the only way you can kill anything is by making its brain stop. I'm going to get the blood out of that animal's body, and by cutting the aorta, now it's no longer able to pump any hormones, any of those stress hormones into the meat, because it can't push any new blood out. It can only take the blood that's in the rest of the body and pump it out into its chest, and then it's done. Then I've got the highest quality of meat possible. And I've studied anatomy enough from enough different angles that I know where I need to aim to be able to do that, to be able to make that shot. And if you can pull it off, you've got the best meat product.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, it's to go back to like the, the archery versus rifle versus really anything. I think, for me, I think a lot about like the little kid in me. I was on a saltwater fly fishing trip for tarpon and permit, but they always have like the bait caster rods on the boat. And I find myself like, we're over there, we're supposed to be fishing for tarpon, but I'm like, I'm catching the shit out of fish with this bait caster and I can't stop. My buddy's laughing at me. I'm like, dude, a fish is a fish. Like, I don't know. There's a part of me that goes, if you ever don't just enjoy throwing a just an old school, just traditional rig with just some nasty ass lure on the end and feeling a fish eat it, then you've lost touch with why we're out there. You know what I mean? If it has to be a tarpon, if you got to hold the silver king, I don't know, man. That's a real bummer. It's a real bummer way to look at life. You know, because we're on the ocean here, man.
Permit guys the fly fishing permit guys, they're the kings of like putting extra value on doing it the hard way. Like,
oh, for God's sakes, yes.
You want to hook up a crab and throw it out there, like permit will eat that, you know?
100% of the time, yeah. Yep. And you'll hold a big permit, you know, and you've got it. And so, and I get the joy of like, can I throw this fly rod? You challenge yourself. But at the same time, I think it can hold both if you have sort of that emotional intelligence to go like, can we have both? And you can. Like you can go, yes, I can enjoy this, but also I can just throw this little bait caster a little bit too and smile my ass off. Because if little kid Brian had looked at me today and went like, you're in the middle of the ocean and you're catching fish and you're seeing stuff, you know, saw sharks swim by or whatever. I mean, this is the most incredible thing I've ever done, you know? And I get to drink a beer and eat some ceviche in between fish. Like I'm in freaking heaven, right? Yeah. And so I think that's the same with archery. And then, you know, rifle hunting for me, I just go like, I love it all. I don't know. You couldn't convince me not to love it all, whether it's a muzzleloader, you know what I mean? Or a 270 or it's a bow, doesn't matter to me. And and I think the same for you, like whether it's a doe or it's a, you know, a 6x bull, I don't know. I get jacked up for both of them and I cry with both of them. And I don't know, man. Maybe because I've only done it for 12, 14 years here. Maybe I'm just young in it and I'm not, I haven't gotten tough enough and gone for the big animals, but I don't know, dude. I just can't get enough of it. It's just so much fun.
Well, you're doing something that is really important, and it's something that I preach a lot, which is don't allow anyone else to define success for you. Like very few of us are hunting for subsistence anymore. What we get out of hunting is something that transcends caloric value in every way.
Yeah.
So at that rate, don't let anyone else define your success. You need to figure you need to figure out what that is for yourself and then figure out how to get it. And then once you've got it, now it's your time to reflect and look back and be like, was this satisfying? Did this do what I thought it would? And if it didn't, and it probably won't, then you need to like take a real hard, honest look at everything and reassess and say, okay, what could I change that would make this feel better? And if for you, that means that it would feel better if you had to try harder and that you were lowering your odds of success, then maybe you should do that. If it means something else, then try that. And look, I'm talking a lot of trash about guys that do it the hard way for a guy that just drove 93 hours to Mexico to go spearfishing for marlin. You know, I do this too. I do stuff the hard way too because I find satisfaction in it. Yeah.
How is it like on the spearfishing side? I'm assuming it's the same as hunting big game with four legs on above ground a little bit. Just but now you've put yourself in the middle of the food chain, which I don't know if I love that idea personally. You've really entered into the environment in a different way than we do in hunting in this world, right? I mean, outside of a bear, which, I mean, admittedly, a bear attack is so rare that, but I mean, in the ocean, it's like, dude, there's a lot of stuff down there that can kill you. And it's not even the big stuff. I mean, even the little stuff.
Opening your mouth can kill you. It's an environment that we can only briefly interact with. So you have every aspect of fishing and hunting. You have the approach, you've got calling, you've got ambush, stalking, all of those things happen.
You said calling? I just raised my hand, sorry.
Calling,
I'm like, wait.
Yeah, what does that look like?
What are you?
So there's a couple ways that I would think about calling. One would be with something physical. So like I might take a piece of PVC that I've put some reflective stuff on, and I'll throw it out there, and that's a little bit more like decoying, I guess. And as it floats down, certain fish will come and investigate that. But if I say I'm hunting, say I'm back in Baja and I'm trying to kill a big Gulf grouper, right? So this is a real scenario. I find this crack in the rock where there's a ledge that comes out, and there's like a 3 foot to 18-inch gap underneath this ledge, and it runs back underneath this shelf for who knows how far, and it's dark. I can't see the bottom. It's 55 feet deep, but I know I'm over the top of this crack. I dive down, and as I hit my 33-foot mark, now I can just descend without kicking. So I just relax my body, and I'm cruising down. I kind of orient on this crack, and I land about 8 feet away from it out there in the sand. So I'm going
to... You 33, you start to sink. Now, are you free diving, by the way? Or are you just holding your breath and letting it rip?
Free diving.
Oh, hell. Okay. Remind me, I want to talk about how to train for that, but let's finish the story. I want to hear the story because I'm scared.
So I land out there, 8 or 10 feet away from this crack. I'm letting my eyes adjust to the dark a little bit, and I'm going to reach out and I'm going to scratch on the rocks a little bit. And then with my throat, I'll go,
okay. Yeah,
like make a little grunting sound. And then you might be able to hear that sound coming back out of that crack. And you're like, all right, he's in there. It's like calling into a bull in dark timber. And then, I'll reach out and I'll like hit the ground and let a little bit of sand come up. And then I'm just going to lay there. Right. And my body is screaming for me to go to the surface and breathe air at the same time.
You lay prone kind of, or you
just laying prone. Okay. And I'm trying to like not stare too hard with my eyes. And I'm just relaxing. And then I see this fish come out, and I wait until I get a little bit of a broadside shot, push the gun forward, take my shot. And I can hear that spear shaft hit. The grouper is going to go run back underneath that crack, go over there, put both my feet on the rock, pull back on the shaft, get him out of there, and get my hands on him and swim him to the surface.
But you're dying for air at the same time.
You think you are, but you're not. But you feel like you are, and you're trying to battle all these things. So like in your mind, and because of your training, that you've got minutes. What the primitive part of your brain is telling you, which is a really strong part of your brain, saying, "Bitch, you need to get to the air like yesterday."
Yeah.
And everybody has different like techniques for dealing with that. But I've got my fish, and now I'm like slowly kicking to the surface, because if I kick fast, then I'm just going to burn oxygen faster. And I'm, maybe telling myself that monsters aren't real, or I'm, singing a song in my head, anything to like keep me cool. And, you get above 33 feet, and now you start being buoyant, and you're floating. So you've got that to help bring you up, and you see your dive buddy up there waiting for you. And you get to the top, and you've got your fish, and you've just had an entire hunting season worth of experience in 90 seconds. In 90 seconds.
2 minutes.
And you put that fish on the boat, and you come back and say, hey, that crack down there, there's 2 more grouper in it. And I think I saw a big Cubera snapper off in the distance. Drop right down there, scratch, grunt, puff sand, and wait. And then your buddy goes down and does the same thing. And guess what? In 5 minutes, it's your turn. Like, you get to go do it again. And it is awesome. It is the best of all of hunting and fishing combined. And there are no seasons. There are no preference points. Like, you want the best spearfishing in the world, you can go do it tomorrow. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, dude. How does it, like, I was just thinking, for some reason, my brain went to be like, you pull the trigger, and that moment where you're like, did I make a good shot? I thumped him or whatever. But do you have more clarity in that moment where it's just like you're so fine tuned because there is no distraction? Or is it like you're thinking, don't die, don't do it? You know what I mean? Like, because when you have a bull in front of you elk hunting, right? Like, I don't know why, there's times I can remember every shadow as it passes over the arrow shaft as it goes into the bull. And there's other ones I'm just like, I blacked out. So I don't know why or what.
I'm team blackout. Yeah.
No
idea. I do on my big blue water gun that I use for tuna and marlin, stuff like that. I paint the shaft white, because white is one of the only colors that doesn't change with depth. I can see it really well. So then as that fish is taken off and I like come back to consciousness after, whatever occurs when I take a shot, I can see that shaft really well and know, all right, like that's a good holding shot.
And something. Yeah.
I know how much pressure I can be putting on that fish, as he's towing me through the ocean and things like that. But some of these fish are so fast. Like you shoot a wahoo, that's the fastest fish in the ocean, can swim almost 70 miles an hour. If you hit him in the wrong spot, he'll swim so fast that he'll like basically tear his body in half. So
Really?
you need to be really thoughtful in your shot placement, and you don't have sights. Like there's no optic. You're just staring down the gun, using the force and kind of hoping for the best. It's pretty rudimentary. And range finding, dude, freaking range finding in blue water.
No
These
way.
animals are all the same shape, right? So is that a big wahoo that's 35 feet away, or is that a slightly smaller one that's 20 feet away?
Oh,
Yeah.
And
I never thought about
the
that.
water's so clear, like it's so hard. And I've even recently I took a shot at a wahoo that was like 40 feet away, and my spear
He
can
was so
make it
big, you're
like
like, he's
30
right in
feet,
front of me.
and it just goes doink and stops, like not even in the same zip code as this fish. And all my buddies were pissed at me. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I thought he was closer.
Yeah.
What range do you have with that?
So the shaft will go 33 feet on my. I have a 130 centimeter aim-right double roller. It's like the 28 nozzler of spear guns. It's freaking awesome. I think in a good effective range on a bigger fish, so that I can punch that shaft all the way through the fish, is going to be closer to like 20 feet, depending on the fish and where you hit them. 20 feet shooting underwater, I would liken that to an 800 or 1,000-yard rifle shot. Like that's a real long ball. So ideally you're shooting stuff at 12 feet or less.
I have a million.
Wow, that's a crazy.
Yeah. And probably we don't. We'll have to just have a phone conversation, or we'll talk about it at Winter Strong or something. But dude, this sounds like an absolute blast. And it also sounds like a huge distraction from everything else I love to do. Right. I mean, it sounds like I can see you going like, it's all I want to do right now is just be out in that ocean spearfishing.
Dude, my honest advice to you is like, don't do it. Don't.
Just
Yeah.
Okay.
don't.
Yeah, which means
Well, then you're probably going to a place with great weather.
like a guaranteed way to get me to do something is tell me not to do it. So you should have said, like, I'm just that guy. Like, I'm rebellious, right? Like my wife said, don't do this. I'm like, well, fuck, now I got to do it. Like, I don't have a choice now. You know?
Dude, I was down there marlin fishing during rifle bull season, and I'd get back and hit Starlink and see pictures of people just shivering on hillsides, pretending like they love it. I'm like, all right, man, like whatever you're into.
And they're so good to eat too, right? And I mean,
yeah, incredibly healthy. And if I shoot an elk, it might be 3 weeks before I get a bite of that thing. I'm eating ceviche while my hair's still wet.
Yeah. Dude, I love it.
And we're winning in freshwater spearfishing. Like before we move off from this, like Oregon is opening freshwater spearfishing for smallmouth bass and walleye and moving water statewide. Idaho opened in a bunch of lakes and waterways for pike, lake trout, smallmouth, walleye, and I think one other species, and a lot of different waterways. It's different in each region. Wyoming has spearfishing. Montana has spearfishing in some lakes for pike and walleye, and you can spearfish for carp statewide. The Great Lakes are open for walleye all the way across. Like freshwater spearfishing might be the fastest growing outdoor sport in the country right now.
Really? That's crazy.
And no sharks.
Pike
and no sharks.
In Wyoming, so Wyoming has pike and walleye?
I think Wyoming has it as a legal method of take. Like, if you can fish, you can spearfish.
Really? That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So, like breath training and stuff like that. Yeah. But whenever you're in your fish buddy, you're doing it. Like, is that 5 minutes enough?
So what you want is a minimum of 2 minutes recovery time on the surface, or two times whatever your dive time was for recovery time. So if I dive for a minute, I need at least 2 minutes on the surface. I prefer 3x recovery time, and my longest dives are a minute and a half. Most of my dives are like a minute and 5, minute 10, and I've got a timer on my watch. That as soon as I get to the surface, it starts my surface timer, and then it'll beep at me at 2.5 minutes. Since my longest dives are typically in that, less than a minute 15, then when my timer goes off, I know at least I can safely go back down. And that's more to like be able to go help my buddy with his fish on the way up, or if he's got a shark bothering him, I can go down and poke on the shark or sea lion or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But usually after that alarm goes off, I'm going to wait another 30 or 60 seconds, get really good and relaxed, do kind of my final breathe up stuff, and make a mental plan for what I'm about to do, and then execute my dive.
What's the timeline for your like descent and then ascent? How long does that take from your?
It's about 1 meter per second for both.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you think about it, and like there was definitely a time for me where I thought a 33-foot dive like sounded like a lot. That sounded pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go stand next to a 3-story building and you look up there and think about swimming to the roof and back, like it seems intimidating. But if I know that I'm going to spend 10 seconds getting down there, 1 second on a turn, and 10 seconds back up, my 33-foot dive, like that's not that long, like 25 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like
and I'm
about
back to
40
the surface.
seconds to hunt.
So, if I'm laying static in a pool and I do a good breathe up and I just relax and put my face in the water, buddy puts his hand on my back, I can hold my breath for about 4 minutes. But if I'm diving and, exerting myself, then that's dropping down a lot, but it's still a mental thing. So both of you right now, we could do a 2-minute breathe up, and if you had the courage, you could hold your breath right now for 4 or 5 minutes and be perfectly fine, and you would have absolutely zero harmful effects from that. And it stands against what we know or what we've been told about how long we can be without oxygen. But the reality is you're not diving with the oxygen that's in your lungs, you're diving with the oxygen that's in your blood. And that takes a really long time to deplete. So if a surgeon knocks you out and you're no longer breathing for yourself, they've got about 9 minutes before they have to start oxygen for you, before your blood O2 starts to go down. Like we can go for a long time without breathing. What builds up in you is carbon dioxide, and that's what feels bad and makes you want to go breathe.
Okay.
But it doesn't hurt you. It just feels like it does.
Is that just a trigger so you breathe? Is that like our natural?
Yeah, it
That's
is.
how we. Yeah.
And then there's all these cool like mammalian dive reflex things that help us to hold our breath for longer. So when cold water touches these receptors that are just underneath your eyes on your cheeks, then your heart rate will naturally slow way down. The lowest heart rate that's ever been recorded in a normal healthy human was a diver at depth who was down to 3 beats per minute. If my resting heart rate, like, right now my resting heart rate's in the 60s on a dive, I can really easily be in the 30s. Because
That's crazy.
Your body just does all these things naturally to make you survive longer underwater. Your spleen contracts and shunts hyperoxygenated red blood cells into your body, and that helps you have more oxygen available in your bloodstream. Like there's just a huge list of these mammalian dive reflex things that are just built into us that make us good at it. Like this girl who's really an important mentor for me in freediving and spearfishing. She's a 3-time national champion. Her name's Kylie Omeda, lives in Hawaii. She'll do like 3.5, 4 minute dives over and over again. And you know, she'll swim down to 130 feet and hang out and wait for 2 minutes for this fish that's pissing her off to finally swim over there and commit suicide. It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. And it's just another one of those things where it's like, wow, this sport taught me that my bodies and my mind are more capable than what I thought they were. How valuable is that?
Yeah. That's cool.
That's the last thing I need.
What? Okay, so down there, you got your 40 to, you know, a little over a minute to hunt. You take your shot, and then I guess you're not like blood trailing. I mean, you're connected to it, right? And then how long do they go? Can it take?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself where you're like, I gotta get this fucking fish in my hands and up? Like,
it depends on the species you're going after, how you set your gun up. So if I'm hunting reef, then the shaft is going to be connected to a shooting line that's on my gun, which will be 3 or 4 times the length of the gun. So then we're kind of tied hard and fast, and I'm just going to like pull on the gun or something like that. Sometimes that's attached to a reel on the gun, and then I've got another, you know, 300, 400 feet of line that fish can spool out.
okay.
If we're hunting the big blue water stuff like the marlin, when I shoot, that shaft is connected to my 33 feet of shooting line, hits the fish. It's got a slip tip that comes off and toggles on the far side of the fish.
So it goes through and then opens up.
So then the shaft can come out of the fish, and I'm not worried about him bending my $200 shaft anymore. And
Okay, because it can come completely out.
Right.
And it's
so now I've just got like this soft line and then the slip tip that's toggled on the other side of the fish. He takes off with my 33 feet of running line. Now I've got 100 feet long bungee that has like a 300% stretch. That's going to go to a float that I pressurized to 25 PSI. That's, you know, about half the size of my torso. And, you know, my job is basically to get up to that float and hold on to it. And then I'm going to swim with that fish, but also make him. What's that?
You're you're at the surface holding onto a beach ball connected to a bungee cord.
Yeah, it's more torpedo shaped, but yeah, something like that. So now,
but that's on the surface.
Now he's dragging me through the ocean, but you know, my marlin pulled my float and me completely underwater multiple times. I can't push this float underwater to save my life or anybody else's.
Really?
Some of these big tuna can pull down 2 or 3 of these floats. And so I'm getting towed through the ocean like this, and I'm kicking along as we go to try to keep pressure off the fish, but keep enough pressure on him that he gets tired of it. Mm-hmm. And then there's a metal clip called the tuna clip, and I can pull on that float line and clip it off, and then I pull another foot in, clip it off, and now I can get myself closer to the fish, and I'm bringing that float with me. And then when I've got him down to that 33 foot mark of my my shooting line, you can either grab another gun from somebody, or, you know, because this is all teamwork, my buddy dives down, he shoots the fish again. So now we've got 2 shafts in him. He's not getting away, not going anywhere. At that point, I dove down, got a hold of his bill, pulled out my super sick dive knife that a Marine Corps machine gunner made for me, and he like laser engraved a little dick on there so that you know it's from a Marine Corps machine gunner. Yeah. And anyways, I got a hold of this marlin's bill, and I took out my dick knife and I stabbed him to death.
Okay.
And so you just between the ribs, so to speak.
Brain.
And brain.
Yep.
So
yeah. Many stabs.
Okay.
That's a hands-on adventure, dude.
Shooting it just starts that journey.
Yeah. And we killed 5 of them before noon.
That's so awesome.
It was sick. It was so awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't have even spelled elk that day. I was having so much fun.
Yeah.
How do you... God, I got so many questions. But all right, is there an outfitter for this sort of thing? Is Six Ranch Outfitter going to start guiding marlin?
Where do we start? Where do we?
So there's a guy that does this sort of thing, right? With spearfishing.
Yeah, there's spearfishing guides all over the world. But if somebody wants to start, here's what you're going to do. you're going to sign up for a dive school. And this isn't going to be a spearfishing school. It's going to be a free diving school. It's going to be 3 days long. And they're going to teach you the physics and the psychology of diving. Then you're going to spend time in a pool learning, how to hold your breath and get used to that. You're going to do, some basic practice stuff in the pool. Then you're going to go out to open water and you're going to dive down to 10 meters, maybe 20 meters. And you're going to practice all of your rescues so you can be a good buddy diver and figure out how to help your buddy if they black out in the water and things like that. You're going to learn how to rescue yourself with a variety of things that can come up. And then you're going to be a certified free diver. At that point, you've got the safety and comfort to be able to operate in the water. Then it's just a matter of getting a basic kit of gear and going and finding some water with some fish. And then you take all of the skills that you built up for hunting on land and you take them into the water and apply them in the timeline that you're capable of. And you may start out with like 15-second dives, and that is normal and it's great. It's okay. From there, pretty soon you're going to be like, oh, dang. You look at your watch and like, I was just down there for 35 seconds. How cool is that? I feel awesome. Like I don't feel gassed at all. You breathe up, you go again. And then pretty soon you're at 60 feet and you forget that you've ever breathed in your life. Like you feel so calm and comfortable and you're just watching this world around you that you only get to be a visitor for. And maybe a fish comes in, maybe it doesn't, but you're going to see jellyfish that glow in the dark and you're going to hear fish swimming through the water. And suddenly you've realized that all of your other hunting you've ever done before is two-dimensional. It was all connected to the surface of the earth or birds coming out of the sky. But now you're in a spherical environment. Like whatever is happening in every direction all the way around you. And you take all that observation and comfort and apply it to whatever dynamic this situation gives you. You spend your time, you come back to the surface. Maybe you got to shoot at a fish, maybe you didn't see one, whatever. And you breathe up and you do it again. It's an incredible thing. And I've been drawn to spearfishing my whole life. I built my first spear when I was in high school, and I was essentially snorkeling irrigation ditches here in the mountains of Northeast Oregon. And I've stuck with it for long enough that I got the opportunity to be around world-class spear fishermen. And that was the point that I decided, like, I need to go to these schools. And now I've been to a lot of them. All of my elk guides are spear fishermen. They're all free dive certified. And it has changed the way we guide and hunt elk in a very substantial way. And I think that part of the reason that my guide staff are the best elk guides in the country, and I believe that to be true, is because they all understand this extra dynamic of hunting where things are condensed and calm is forced, and timelines and decisions need to be that much more precise.
Yeah. I was going to ask you what's the lesson you take from spearfishing into, let's say, elk hunting or mule deer hunting. Yeah. And so it's that condensation of decision making and going.
And also, like, some of those decisions are, now's not the time. Right? And that
doesn't fit in 35 seconds. Right? Like, you got to make that up.
Yeah. Like, now's not the time. The situation isn't right. The shot isn't there. I don't have enough air to be able to recover this fish. And, maybe he's going to swim into a wreck or hole in the rock. And now we're going to spend the next 2 hours out here trying to get this fish out. Maybe there's too many sharks around and that fish is going to get taken from me. Maybe I might get hurt in this situation. Now you take some of that decision making over to elk or deer hunting. It's like, well, is it right? Yes. Do it immediately. Like, act immediately. There's no other time. Yeah. Like, we have to go right now. Yeah. Or like, we have to stop. If you can learn how to be patient for another 15 seconds while your brainstem is telling you you're about to die, then you can take that same mental fortitude and you can wait for that bull to step around so that that shot angle is correct. And you don't have that, oh, I'm going to take this opportunity because it's never going to get any better. It's binary. It's either a good enough opportunity or it's not, right? So if you can be patient under duress, like extreme duress, where you think that death is what's coming for you, then when it's a less stressful situation, and it's like, well, I can breathe, right? All I have to do is stand here. Now you can exercise that patience over a much longer time scale. So it's really both sides. It's like knowing when to go, when not to go, being able to make those decisions quickly, and being able to pass on bad situations.
Yeah. The passing, but also being able to jump and go. Like if it is right, like you said, first go. Because I think we have a hard time with that one too. It's like, well,
that's a huge mistake I see in
especially whenever you don't have all morning, right? You do have this 25-minute window probably, or whatever.
Yeah,
and you think you have all morning, but it's like, I need to make a decision now, and if I'm going to do it, I need to go now.
I see this happen with novice hunters quite a bit at full draw or when they're on the gun. They have, and I'm again talking about it in binary. It's like either it's not good enough or it is good enough. They have that good enough opportunity and they wait for it to get a little bit better, and then they miss the opportunity altogether. Yeah. Right. So like going back to military stuff where we teach the 70% decision, like if it's 70% good, go with it. Like make that decision right now, be decisive, and then be willing to abandon your plan instantly as soon as it's not going well. Just really, really, really important features that can bleed from all these different trainings and disciplines and come together and meld into a new capability.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing. Like most young hunters that I've taken, because I love taking new guys out, it's almost always the failure happens in not making the decision or being just this much more aggressive, going, hey, you got to move. I'll watch them like, why didn't you step in front of the tree? Well, I don't know. I locked up. I'm like, you got to just do it. Because you either move in front of the tree and have a shot, or you'll never get a shot. So you might as well blow it out, and give it your best. Right.
Sometimes
that aggressive. Yes. And that's just it. And knowing when to and when not to, right?
Yeah.
Like, why'd you move? You should have stayed your ass put, So I don't know. It's just knowing when, like, hey, I'm busted. So either just take a step forward, move away from this tree and shoot this thing, or it's over anyway, so. And
that's an excellent mentality on public land, where I'm only guiding on private land. I can't blow them up because they might leave and never come back. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I whole another world to that.
Dude,
yeah.
Man,
I'm sure you're telling me your ass. Yeah.
I get like so much hate for guiding private, and they're like, oh, must be nice. Like, dude, if you had to hunt every day of the season and you could only move 2 miles away from this one center point, do you think there'd still be elk there at the end of the season?
No, not at all.
Right. That's what I have to do year in and year out. And we're getting all this tooth age data back from these animals. We've aged every single animal we've gotten. Most of the cows that we've aged are over 12 years old. Right. Damn. And the ladies hold the purse. They run the show. Anytime I hear somebody say that a bull gathered up his cows and left, it just makes me want to like have, I don't know, diarrhea in public. It's just that you can't push a string. He followed those cows. He followed those cows. They left.
Yeah.
And like when we're talking about really old animals like this, like we've killed 2 cow elk that are over 20 years old. You know how freaking smart that animal is to live for 20 years out there in the wild? Like that's who I'm up against. And I'm doing it in the same place year after year, every day of the season. Like, I need to know really well when to push a little bit and when to say, nope, it's not right. Like, let's wait. Let's back out. The wind's wrong. Like, the wind is about to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are the things that you really need to know. But on public land, dude, pull the pin and throw the grenade. Like, you got to go. Like, go make it
Yeah.
happen.
That's us.
Yeah,
like,
because then you're just
public
sitting.
land.
You're like the only one on this side of the mountain. Like, fuck that up or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess with with clients, do you ever get like pushback from that? Do you ever get like someone who's
yeah.
like us who are like, pull the pin, throw the grenade, like, what are we doing? Let's go do this. And you got to make that executive decision of, hey, this is our place for every day of the year, not just your weekend.
Not only that, but you have to do it in a way that is socially acceptable for them, because the hunter tends to be self-interested. They're not like they care about the other hunters that are coming out there, but mostly they care about their own experience. So I'm managing that for them, but I'm also thinking about their hunt next year. Right. Like I felt like the elk were getting to know me too well, because they've all heard me call at this point. So I took voice lessons from an opera singer this year so that I could resonate sounds out of a different part of my throat to change the way I sound through a reed. And it made a difference, right? So we've got
You saw a difference?
Yeah. I called in at least 2 bulls this year that I remember calling to last year, and I don't think I did anything wrong last year, but they knew me from before, right? Because they'd fallen for that trick before. They knew that sound. These elk know each other, dude. Like, their voice is caller ID. I'm already alerting them by sounding like an elk that they don't know. Like that's already a problem.
Yeah.
If I can sound like a satellite bull that bigger bull has already kicked his ass, that's a win. So I'm constantly listening to satellite bulls, and I'm waiting for one that I can imitate. And if I hear him, I'm like, all right, we got this. Like,
I got this guy.
Because like that dude's been run out of the bar before already. And that bigger bull has less tolerance for him. So, the little things that you can do matter. And I know this isn't stuff that applies to most people, but it is the stuff that I have to do.
Well, just thinking about that, it's like the caller ID aspect to it. It's like, if I'm in this area, say for 3-4 days, archery, it's like, the first time we rip off something, it's like, we're something new in here. But then it's like to expect it to work, the next day.
Again and again and again.
Or whatever.
Again. Yeah.
I've never put too much thought into that.
Just a cow calling a rake, or, because a rake can sound like anything, right? And I think that's where I've gotten stupid lucky with raking bulls in.
It's not luck, dude. It's the right move. Like
it just seems to, if I can't get them to close the distance, I'll drop everything and just start raking.
Have you ever been?
Because I know I can't screw that up, kind of.
Have you been around cattle much?
Yeah, we grew up around them. Yeah.
Okay, so say you've got a pasture full of bulls. You ever deal with a pasture full of bulls? Like they're out there.
No. We dealt with bulls, I suppose, but never a pasture full of bulls.
Okay.
Sounds like a bad idea. And it sounds like a lot of fence fixing to me, but let's keep talking. Yeah.
Well, when you have that, they'll be out there laying on the ground, all in their own space, happy as can be. There hasn't been an issue in weeks. And when you ride out into that pasture, they get up and start fighting each other. And it used to just make me furious as a young man in those cowboying situations. Like, you guys have been getting along for months, and now I ride out here and it turns into a fight, and now you're not paying attention to me or the dogs or anything else, and then maybe I'm fixing fence by the end of it. What has happened is those bulls all had their own space, and when you rode out there, you push one bull into another bull's space, and they have to reassert dominance over each other. When you are raking, that is one of the most aggressive things that you can do to a bull elk if you are inside of his space. And the reaction that you get from them is the same as with those beef cow bulls. He's got to come do something about it.
Yeah. What about certain, and this is, I guess this is a question for guys that aren't trying to shoot the biggest bulls, but I was trying to bring an okay, like 5x6 satellite bull into my brother. Could not get him off of the tree line. He was just skittish as hell.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he just had his ass kicked too much, but nothing. I couldn't get him to come across, 150-yard little meadow. He just hung up at that tree line. We were sitting the other one opposite a little creek bottom and grassy little meadow, and he just wouldn't come across.
Yeah. Very, very common. So here's what's going on. An elk has like 20/60 vision. Not great, but good enough. They can't see red or orange. They kind of pick up at amber and then move on down to violet and probably can see a little bit of ultraviolet. That elk is looking across that meadow and wondering why these other elk are hiding from him. So anytime a bull gets to what we call a hang-up point, which is the point where he should visually be able to see the source of a sound, if he can't see that sound, then he's like, what is going on? Right?
Yeah.
If you were hearing a voice from a room and you walked towards that room, as soon as you got in the door and there was nobody in there and you could still hear the voice,
out of there.
are you going in?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
No, not at all.
no,
Not at all.
scary. I've seen that movie. Like, don't go in that room. Right?
Go in the room.
Yeah.
Very much.
And so in that
very much the
scenario,
same
like
felt.
I ran up the hill behind them, like probably 150 yards, thinking, and I did like 3 or 4 cow calls, and he still was kind of looking for us. And then I start raking. I just couldn't get him to come across. But that, for me, technique-wise, was what I thought the solution was we'll get my ass further away and let him close that distance half again, right? If I'm calling for my buddies, but
Well,
and they're all different. I get that. Like he just hung up. He wasn't crossing, but
they are.
That makes sense. Though, getting to a point that like I should see this now.
yeah.
They are all different, but there's also similarities. Now, if you're uphill from that bull, you have a tactical advantage over him. So if you've got two 800-pound animals and one of them has the uphill advantage, he's going to win that fight. So
that's where I backed up, is going uphill of him.
So you've just asked him to put himself in a vulnerable situation after he was already stressed about the magic invisible elk. Also, another problem with uphill is that wind tends to go up and downhill. So if you can get on the same level as the elk, typically you've got a wind advantage where it's coming across your cheek. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, if you have a crosswind, then that elk that you're trying to call in isn't at a disadvantage. If the wind is in my face and it's in his tail, he's at a disadvantage. So I don't really like those scenarios either. I really like a crosswind where, from his perspective, we're equally advantaged. We're on the same slope of the hill, and he can come in and investigate that situation and see if it's something he wants to get involved in. One of the biggest myths of elk calling is that you can judge the age or size of a bull by the bugle that he's making, which is simply untrue.
Yeah.
So the same applies for elk. Now, you're a new elk. You sound different from all the other elk he knows. He doesn't know what he's stepping into until he sees you, right? So he's going to do so cautiously, unless it's that situation where he's socially forced into this dynamic where he has to do something about it. And that is usually a proximity thing and a sound thing. And there's lots of sounds that can do it, but raking is a sound that is harder to screw up than the rest of them. And, when an elk calls, it has sound coming out of their mouth and their nose simultaneously. And there's multiple pitches and tones that are resonating simultaneously. We cannot do that with a reed. We can't. The only way to be able to do it is with multiple reeds that have different volumes of airflow going over them at the same time. That call doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So immediately our sound is at a disadvantage because it doesn't sound quite right. We can get close, but not quite right. But raking, man, especially if you're raking with an antler, which I really encourage people to do, is like find a raghorn, cut the tines off of it, and rake with that.
Yeah, I
can hear the sound difference, and they can hear a much wider spectrum of sound than I can. So, like, let's just do that correctly and see what happens.
Yeah, I hunted with Wayne Endicott in New Mexico years ago, and he always carried just a little chunk of antler with him and it's dumb because as a young hunter you think, well, I just watch the movies, they just use a stick, and you go, yeah, it makes sense. It's not that damn hard to carry a little chunk of antler with you everywhere you go.
Yeah,
You
I've
know?
got like a parachute cord handle on this thing, and
Yeah,
um,
baby.
the first week of September is kind of raking season for me. And dude, my hands look like I just got in a bare knuckle boxing fight against
Yeah.
the razor wire man. I'm
Yeah.
just shredded, but I'm getting after it, and I'm coming out of there covered in pitch with pine needles sticking out of everywhere, and uh, it's deadly though. Man, is it deadly. And like, also start soft. Like there's a full spectrum of raking, and in early season there's not just raking, but there's also rubbing going on, which are two different acts, and they occur on different species of trees. Raking is an aggressive thing. It's like a dude being pissed off at a bar and kicking a trash can. Like that's raking. Rubbing is more early season, about getting that last of that velvet off, but it's
Yep.
also a big scent marking thing. So those glands that are in their head, they're marking that. It's going to be on a larger diameter tree. It sounds completely different, but it's also an aggressive thing to do to a bull. So if you're raking on a lodgepole pine tree, that's wrong. If you're rubbing on a lodgepole pine tree, that's right. If you're raking on a juniper, that's right. If you're rubbing on a juniper, unless it's a large diameter one that doesn't have limbs at the bottom, that's wrong. So you just have to look at what the woods are telling you, which is really easy to see. Find those species in your area and find the difference between how the elk are interacting with them. Look at where they're standing. Which side of the tree were they standing on? That should tell you something. Were they spinning around it? Were they standing on one side of it? Stand on the side they were standing on. Like, you have to do everything that you can to be an elk. You're lying to them. You need to sell that lie all the way.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, I love it. I just love that there's a pursuit to that. There's a way to get better at it. You know what I mean? And also, like you started out, raking it's like you just said, you can get better, but also it's harder to screw up than it is a bugle or a cow call, where you throw cow calls out, sometimes you're like, oh God, let's just go home. That was bad, and we're done.
Biggest mistake people make with cow calling is they cow call in tight timber. Cows don't do that. Cows call in the opening, and when they're in the openings, there's lots of cow talk going on, and their cue that there's danger in the area is they all stop calling. In tight timber, when a cow calls, that's a cue that there's danger there. Now, we're comfortable in tight timber because we're visual animals, and we know that it's harder to see us in there, but that's not a natural place to use cow sounds to call on a bull.
Interesting. So find a little meadow, a little clearing, something where cows would be talking back and forth.
Yeah.
And you're also just not going into some thick stuff to locate, I guess, right?
No.
Yeah.
And if you are, you need to be loud. You need to be like breaking limbs and kicking rocks and making lots of natural sounds. The only stuff that is sneaky around elk and timber means them harm.
Yeah.
James, I got so many questions for you, dude. Like, we haven't even really brushed up against half the stuff I wanted to ask you about.
I got time if you've got time.
Like an hour and 35 minutes, and I just have so many curiosities because just what you're doing out there, the kind of the breadth of what you're touching and what you're messing with is just incredible, man. And we talked a little bit before the call, and you don't have children. Are you married, or where are we at in life?
Yep.
So married, no children yet, which allows time to go spearfishing in Mexico and some of that, which is good because I thought I saw some pictures of you were feeding, I think, nieces and nephews. You were feeding them some goose sushi.
Oh yeah, and some neighboring ranch kids and stuff like that. But yeah, the goose sushi crushed. That was good.
Did it really? Because I mean, that's a challenge, right? To make any goose taste really good. Now, I don't particularly mind it. A lot of people do not like goose, but how did you prepare the goose sushi? That wasn't supposed to be a question. Actually, I'm so ADD that here we are.
Yeah.
How'd you prepare the goose sushi? I saw you had it on a post, but I mean, it's.
I built the salt box, so I just built a small box out of 1x pine, and layered it with kosher salt. Put the goose breast in there with the skin on but plucked, but just the breast. and then I waited until it had lost 40% of its original weight, and then I sliced it thin, leaving that skin rind on there for the fat,
And that fat running on it as well.
and then I scored that fat, and hit it with a torch to crisp it up. And then, goose, like a lot of dark meats, really likes acidity. So if you've got the umami flavor of the meat, and then you've got the fat that's within that skin, and you've provided some texture by crisping up that skin, and then you've got like those mellow undertones that come with rice and a little bit of sweetness in there, and then you add like some aged balsamic or something like that to provide some acidity, then you've really created something in a bite that that you can feed to adults or children, and it's just going to scratch the itch for everybody.
Yeah. And would you like add some citrus too, like a little bit of a lemon?
So you can,
well?
yes. Citrus is another way to go at it. That tends to, anytime you're using citrus, you're essentially brightening that flavor. Where with this, I was going for, somewhat like darker undertones, and trying to come at it from a balance, but also like a richness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
one of my favorite things to do is just to we'll do like a sushi night and just get a couple pieces of fish.
Yeah.
And just make up 6 slices of whatever, you know what I mean? You put some microgreens on there, you put maybe some hot stuff in there just to mess with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an absolute blast to just let's make a plate and see if it turned out. And if it doesn't, oh well, there's 6 of them.
And it's beautiful.
You eat them and you try them.
Yeah. No,
I cut you off. What were you going to say, dude?
Well, I was going to say, we eat a lot of meat raw that I think most people don't, and there's risk with it, but I eat a huge amount of elk raw. And if you think about it, like 140 degrees is the temperature that you're going to be killing something like trichinosis, for example. Well, if you're cooking elk or venison to 140 degrees, that's well done for those meats, and it doesn't really taste very good. So if it's less than that, you haven't used heat to kill anything other than what's on the surface.
Right.
So if you use something else to kill what's on the surface, whether that is, a torch or vinegar, something like that. Wasabi, that was the original purpose of wasabi and sushi, was to kill bacteria. Then you've got something that's safe to eat. And raw venison kind of tastes a lot like yellowfin tuna. It's really good.
Really? And dude, okay, just walk us through that though. Like, so, I mean, our risk is a little bit is trichinosis, I guess, but not a whole lot different than.
Yeah, that's the one that I would be aware of. But with trich, that tends to occur in animals who are eating carrion. So while it's possible for it to occur in something like a deer or an elk, it's much less likely than like a bear or a cougar or a goat.
Like our buddy Danny Bolton decided he was going to do some goat ceviche. I think, was it goat ceviche that he did?
Yeah, Danny ate some raw goat. Bless his heart. Yeah. But like you just it's really important not ever to take advice from somebody who hunts with llamas, and I think Danny did that, and then he ate raw stuff and it made him really sick.
Yeah. What do you got against llamas?
What do I have against llamas? Oh, everything.
You're up.
Yep, go for it.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Do you hunt with llamas?
Oh, dude, we have, and we've killed one.
You killed the llama?
All of our heart.
Good.
It killed itself.
It hung himself.
Yeah.
He hung himself.
Yeah.
We had him. He had him staked out. And dude, we left this little tree, like barely bigger than my thumb. Big snowstorm came in one night. We had just shot a really nice bull. So you're happy. We got bull hanging in the trees. Actually, we had 2 bulls down at that point. Wake up in the morning, snow, 6-8 inches on the ground, and a llama had wrapped himself around this tree, got his foot caught in the rope up against his neck, killed himself.
Mm-hmm. Well,
$5,000 later.
So this was you rented llamas?
we had for a long time rented llamas. We haven't in the last couple of years because those sons of bitches pulled themselves out. They're the most fucking just grumpy ass, pain in the ass animals in the world. They'll haul your shit though. Like, I mean, to the point of like, they're like, don't talk to me, don't look at me, put the stuff on, I'll haul it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd recommend. We grew up with animals. We grew up around horses and cows and all that. But I think if you hadn't grown up with them, I think a normal city kid would have himself a rodeo up there with llamas. So I'll say yes.
I've only done it the one trip with you, and I don't know, it's like a week maybe.
Yeah.
And they weren't bad.
They're pretty much fine. I mean, we went up
right.
one trip that we got 1.5 feet of snow, and you don't think about the fact you got to feed that shit up when you're up. You know what I mean? So now we're digging in the snow, we're going under trees. There, you know, dude, it really can mess a hunt up, because if you get that much snow, now you're like, you spend your whole time feeding your animal. You know. Now, point counterpoint. Not that I was the good side of it. I told you. I mean, they're a pain in the ass, but
Yeah,
I know what I'm getting.
I feel like you did a lot of my job for me there.
But no, you hit me with it. What were you going to say?
Well,
I love
just,
it.
You know, I feel like when somebody brings a llama on a hunting trip, that the last molecule of testosterone must have evaporated from their body beforehand. It's a crazy thing. I grew up guiding backcountry trips with horses and mules, and they're terribly afraid of llamas, and it causes massive wrecks in the backcountry. Like, you might as well.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, if a horse,
Like a mule on a horse?
And we try and be really respectful. We'll get way up and off the trail. You know what I mean? Because I'm aware, like, because we've used horses as well, and a horse sees a llama and it shits on.
Right.
You know.
So you're automatically doing something that people should be aware has the potential to cause a catastrophic wreck in the backcountry. Like, you might as well dress up in a grizzly bear suit. It's a really bad situation, and I was involved in massive mule train wrecks with llamas, and I was like, what is the point of this? Now, full-grown llama can carry almost as much weight as a teenage girl, so that's cool. And what I oftentimes see,
he killed one. He might have hung himself, because we had about 90 pounds on each llama. You know what I mean?
What?
So maybe it was on purpose.
What I oftentimes see is guys who bring emotional support llamas on hunting trips have the llamas carrying basically just their own llama food on the way in, and then on the way out, if by some act of God people are actually successful hunting on a llama trip, which is rare, then the dude is packing his own crap out while he's leading his emotional support llama out of the backcountry. And I'm standing over here thinking about how we are going to explain this behavior to aliens who will someday visit us. I have no defense. I think it is one of the most bizarre trends in hunting is that people have decided to start renting llamas to carry a portion of their stuff in and out of the backcountry.
It used to be affordable.
What about like the little goats? I met those like 2 years ago.
Let's get even worse. Let's talk about emotional support goats.
So goats are interesting. You have to be a goat guy first and a hunter second, because you've got to train your goats. It's a year-round commitment. I think goats have the biggest advantage for like backcountry mule deer guys, because goats don't drink very much water. They can go anywhere that a human can, but they tend to be pretty connected with their goat owner, so they want to be with you while you're hunting, and that can actually be quite an advantage, because if you've got other animals running around, then a lot of times deer and elk are a little bit more confident in that situation. So I think goats have application, but like I said, you've got to be a goat guy first. That's got to be your primary passion, is like owning and managing goats. But once they're grown up and they're trained, they're pretty remarkable. And horses and mules have their own dramas as well. I'm not going to say that they don't.
I was just going to say, like, twice in the wilderness we're in, we've had guys lose their horses.
Yeah.
You know, so they're coming to camp. Have you seen this? He's a bay, street face bay or whatever. And you're like, fucking dude, this is like 1 million acres. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, good luck. But I mean, usually horses are smart, right? They're going to go to water or they'll go back down to the truck.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've done the horse thing too. And I mean, anytime you take livestock back there, you've changed the hunt. You've changed the whole dynamic of camp, the whole dynamic of the hunt in general.
Yeah.
And, we just paid, there's an outfitter where we were hunting this year, and we just paid for the pack out if we shot something, which to me is the very best relationship to have. Because, if you want to have goats or even have your own llamas or have your own horse, I mean, God help you on vet bills and the cost of feed and all that other stuff. And it cost me $900 to get my bull out this year, but my boys got to stay in camp. You know what I mean? So they stayed hunting for the 3 days it took me to walk out, get it to the processor, and then walk back in. And it kept the guys hunting, right? And so that to me was the best approach, is if you can find somebody that has animals that's willing to come up and get them and haul them out, that's to me the best.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. If you can find those situations where an outfitter or somebody can haul your stuff in, drop off your camp in a good spot, and you can hike in or ride in with them and then hunt out of there, and then you just have to get your meat to the nearest trail and they'll come get it. Like, that is a really, really great way to go. If you do
Absolutely.
want to have livestock with you the whole time, you need somebody who's like the camp person, who's going to take them to water 2 or 3 times a day, who's going to move their fences, make sure that they don't get hurt, manage camp. Because if you don't have that, you're pulling yourself off the mountain during the very best times of day for hunting to go manage your livestock. So it's pretty ineffective. Backcountry hunting in general is fairly ineffective. But
yes, I mean, it's funny. We had that conversation this year because, we rifle hunted with my buddy's son, the same unit we archery hunt, and we have this freaking, I don't know, this crazy drive to go 12, 13 miles back in and set up camp. And on the rifle hunt, we just kind of walked off this little Jeep trail about a half mile over a ridge, 4 bulls, herd of cows, shot the bull, you know what I mean? And it was like 1 o'clock, we're done. Like, we're back at camp drinking beers. And we're kind of going, why do we do this every year in archery season? Why do we kill ourselves? Again, it's the cognitive dissonance that I think you said is it runs big in me, I guess, because we keep doing it. But yeah, you're right, man. Like, backcountry archery hunting is probably not the most effective way if you're going to try and shoot something.
No. The only advantage to hunting deep backcountry is to find dumber animals.
Right.
Yep. That's it. So
is there a disadvantage to having more humans around? I have my own opinion, but
a disadvantage
to an extent. Let's say a normal amount of hunters, I've always felt like isn't as big of a problem as people think it is.
Yeah,
it causes animal movement and some of that. Where
I've hunted around a lot of hunters before. There's too many variables there for me to say one way or another, but I'm not bothered by seeing a trailhead full of trucks. I'm not bothered by seeing people out there. I think that I have an advantage in that I tend to know or be able to predict to an extent where pressured animals are going to go. And I also have a fairly good understanding of what most people are willing to do. So if I can combine those 2 pieces of knowledge, like, well, I'll just do what no one else is willing to do and put myself in a place where I would go if I was an elk that wanted to stay alive, because they still need the things that they need to survive. But one of those is to not be around a bunch of googans who are going to be shooting stuff at them. And it honestly isolates those animals and concentrates them more than what I think most people think.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's not always miles and miles. It's oftentimes just one nasty ridge, It's not even that hard. It's just like, I've been in some spots where I'm like, there's nobody has been up here. And it's a quarter mile up, sure. But, 30 minutes later and you're where you need to be.
And an elk's primary sense is its nose, and it lives in the wind. It's going to put itself in places where the wind gives it the biggest advantage possible. And part of that is that its predators use the wind as well, besides humans. So the places where an elk can gather intelligence from wind and also prevent its own scent from spreading to a place that increases its vulnerability is going to be edge habitat, a place where the wind creates turbulence. That usually is not miles and miles in, it's on the edge, right? So you need to look for edges and think about this thing purely from a wind standpoint first, and then think about it from the other perspectives.
Which is the challenge, right? Because I've hunted those spots where you see a bull and you're like, I know exactly why he's there. Because you got wind funnels here, and there's like maybe one spot and he can see it clear as day. You know, he can see you coming for miles. Otherwise, he's got the wind, and you're going, how am I going to get into this bull? You know, because it's just he's like, he lives out here 365 days a year.
Yeah.
He's way freaking better at this than I am.
It's not a season for them. It's not a game. It's every day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep. I prepared you with no questions for this podcast. I don't even know if I've asked a really good question yet, and we're 2 hours in. I gave you about 15 minutes to think about it, but something I've been thinking a lot about just as we're coming into the tag, you know, we're getting ready to start applying for things now. I think Idaho just kind of did their initial draw, and then we'll have another draw in Idaho. But the question was something I've been thinking a lot about is, you know, that hunter that's just starting out, and Tyrel, you've been doing it for what, 8 years now, but 6 years. And so, you know, somebody like Tyrel that's getting into it. I have this in my mind, James. I have this kind of 5-year hunting plan. And I think, do you know our friend? You know Heath Hansen, don't you? He's up there in Twin Bridges, Montana.
I should.
I think you've met him before.
I was in Twin last weekend.
Yeah, so he's there, a killer elk hunter. Good dude. I just saw you put one of those in, and I don't have any in the studio, and I was just like really jonesing, and you're not helping me, James. But that's okay. We're gonna work through this. But Heath and I are talking about making this. I think it'd be really, really cool, you know, for, let's say, Western elk, you know, and then mule deer, and then I'm gonna throw in as like training exercise whitetail. You know what I mean? And just hear me out on the whitetail thing. Since there's going to be whitetail guys like, what do you mean training? But kind of my question is, if you were going to lay out like a 5-year, here's how you're going to go apply and have a good 5-year season, right, of hunting, and we can mix in mule deer and elk in there, and then using a whitetail as a training, because I think the thing that I run into with guys that want to come out west, or us that start in the west and we don't really have a whitetail to hunt, you may or may not draw a tag every year, and when you do, if you're hunting public land, you don't have that many at bats, right? I mean, Tyrel you've been hunting the last 6 years, and you've probably drawn your bow back with a legitimate shot twice, right? Hunting public land over the counter units in Colorado, which is the worst. You know what I mean? If you want to try and shoot an elk, but nonetheless, that's where he's at, right? And so in my mind, I'm thinking it'd be cool if the guys like you that knew really well, James, like, here's how I would approach it. But the challenge to you is mixing in getting at bats for a guy, right? Because the idea of drawing that kind of like live fire, you know, combat, you know, type situation, you don't get it in the West very often, right? Unless you're with somebody that's guiding you and you've got the dollars to do it. So let's throw the dollar bills out the window and say you don't have all the money in the world, because if you go with somebody like you're going to get at bats. You're going to see elk. You're going to have a chance to shoot an elk, almost for sure, right? But, you know, for us poor kids over here hunting those public over the counter shit units, you know.
Hey, I'm a poor kid too, so I'm all about this.
You know where we're coming from. So how would you approach that, dude?
Yeah.
How would you? I know this is a bigger conversation, but just throwing it out there, like, what are some of the things that you would look and go, here's how I would approach that 5-year window?
First, we need to establish what success looks like 5 years from now. And if that is like, let's go under the assumption that 5 years from now, I want to go on a DIY hunt and successfully harvest an elk, right? We'll just say an elk. And right now where I'm starting, I've never hunted anything at all.
Yep.
Beautiful. What an opportunity. I'm jealous of that person, because this road they have forward is going to be transformative. Like, they won't be able to imagine their life before this point. So we're going to start with education and skill building, and there's never been a better time for access to information. So you're going to listen to podcasts. You're going to read forums. You're going to read a book, like a hard book, like one with pages and stuff like that. You're going to look at diagrams, and you're going to study anatomy, and you're going to learn about this first animal that you're going to hunt, which is going to be a white-tailed deer. And you're going to hunt it from a static position, like a ground blind or a tree stand. And you're going to learn about patience. You're going to learn about observation. You're going to watch how the wind works, and you're going to watch how high pressure areas and moon phase and all these other factors affect how and when deer move. You're going to get really good with trail cameras, and you're going to study this. And maybe this first year, you're going to get an opportunity to take a shot. Probably you will. White-tailed deer have the second highest success rate of any species in North America at between 30 and 40%. So regardless of what people want to say about the difficulty of hunting whitetail, the data indicates that it is one of our easiest species to hunt. So it's a great place to start. Now, year 2, I want you to book a quantity hunt of some kind, and whether that's pigs or does or something like that, we need to go get some reps in. And this is the year that you're going to become a killer. Which you need to do.
I like that.
Like you need to go out and you need to experience killing an animal, recovering it, getting it into the cooler, and then strapping up and doing it again. And try and find that situation where you're going to get multiple opportunities in the same hunt. I'm talking about Texas. Like you're going to Texas, you're going somewhere in the south where you can go and get lots of opportunities. It's probably going to cost you a little bit.
If you're willing to shoot does, like you can go shoot does. There's a lot of places. If you say, "Hey, I'll shoot does," there's a lot of people who let you on their land, and you say, "I'm not looking to shoot any bucks."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then I think the beauty is there. You learn how to skin an animal. Because I was talking to my brother about his first elk. He's like, we didn't know. Like we had no idea how to skin an elk.
Yep.
He's like 8 hours later, right? We got done. But so anyway, I'm interrupting. So year 2, we're chasing does, pigs, something where you said, and what was the word you used? Quantity.
Yep. You're going to become a killer. That's your goal for year 2. Year 3, you are going to go to the area that you plan on hunting for elk, and you're going to hunt an over-the-counter species that everybody else is sleeping on. That could be turkeys, that could be spring bear, that could be cougar, that could be coyotes, right? These are all budget hunts, like the most budget of out-of-state hunts.
$50-$60,
right? Or damn near free if you're hunting coyotes, right?
Yeah, right.
So get out there and you're going to start learning the terrain, the roads, where there's gas stations, all the things, and you're going to go through the exercise of the logistics, right? Like amateurs talk about tactics, experts talk about logistics. You're going to become an expert in the logistics of this hunt, and you're going to start to learn the terrain. Year 4, now you're going to go back out there and you're going to hunt your target species and probably a female of that species. Because what we need to do is knock that elk off of the pedestal. We can't turn it into this mythical, unachievable thing that so many people out there claim it to be. And you're going to use the most lethal weapon that you're legally allowed to use. So that means we're probably going to go out and we're going to take a rifle and we're going to go hunt for a cow elk. And we're going to get to experience elk. We're going to get to stalk. We're going to see the weather. And we're probably going to get a chance to put a bullet into that animal. And then you're going to put your hands on an elk. And you're going to get to bring that meat home and share it with friends. And now you're an elk hunter and you've killed an elk. Like you're a 10%er. You've made it. You've done it. Year 5. Hopefully you've got a preference point or two built up over these previous years, right? Yeah. So now you're within striking zone of drawing one of these tags that takes 2 or 3 preference points. We don't want more than that. That's enough to get you into a good unit in any Western state where there's real opportunity, but you're going to be able to do it more often, which is so important. Please, for the love of God, do not try and get these things that take 20 or 25 years to draw. That's dumb. Lottery is a tax on people who are bad at math. Don't be one of them.
Thank you. Let's circle back to that because I don't know. I didn't know what your opinion was on tags when I texted you, and I kind of left that open-ended because I wanted to talk about that. But let's circle back. I want to finish the journey of this new hunter. Now they've learned how to whitetail hunt. They've shot a bunch of stuff in Texas, Georgia, somewhere in there. Now they've shot their first cow elk.
Yep.
We've got the points, and we got 3 points, which I don't know Oregon, but I know Colorado, Wyoming, most every state around here, 3 points is going to probably get you a tag. Pretty decent area, really.
Yep. So lots of states, you're probably going to be able to draw a decent hunt with that. And you haven't put a massive investment into this at this point to get those preference points. You've spent money on a couple of these trips, but you're hunting, you're doing the thing that you love, and now you've developed the skills and the confidence to go out there and now we're going to hunt a bull elk with the weapon of your choice. And because you've got this background, you've got this foundation that you've built up. Maybe you've made some hunting friends along the way. I hope you have. You've got a mentor or something like that.
This community, to me, is the most magical, freaking wonderful community in the world. And I think any young man that raises his hand and says, I want this, I love this, I need support. I mean, I think all 3 of us in the room would say, I'll give you literally the shirt off my back to help you, because it has given me so much more than I've taken from it. And or than I've given it, you know what I mean? It's given me a lot more than I've ever given back to it. That's what I should have said there. Yeah.
And I do that for young folks every year. Like I make fun of that.
So anyway, so that guy would have found a wonderful community along the way. He just would.
Yeah.
I don't see how you would.
Yeah. Don't bring up llamas. Make sure that people know that you're a sane person, and
just don't be an asshole. That's the rule.
Yeah,
don't be an
asshole. That's a good start. But I think that's probably the best foundation to roll into year 5 and have a legitimate chance at going out and killing a bull elk, and then knowing what to do with it. So if I wanted to build a hunter on a 5-year plan, it would look something like that.
I think that's great. And then, and in the meantime, if you had applied for multiple states, now you've got points stacked up enough to where you're 6 and 7 and 8, and kind of moving forward, you should be able to recycle those states. And for, hopefully they keep tags fairly reasonable, but now it's $1,000 even to shoot a whitetail in Oklahoma. But, but nonetheless, I mean, hobbies cost money. Don't drink Starbucks. Get your priorities straight. You know what I mean? And then never mind the amount of money you'll save on food, right?
No.
It's the most expensive steak you'll ever eat in your life.
Yeah,
I know.
That one's tough to pencil out, but the value you get is interesting. I read a really beautiful short story recently called A Meeting with a Great Beast, and I can't even tell you the author's name. I can't believe that I haven't encountered this thing. It was inside of an old Reader's Digest, I think, from the 70s. And, I'll give you just a quick rundown of this story. The guy wanted to go elephant hunting. He shows up, meets his PH, and I'm reading this, and it's very much from a client's perspective. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, this is what a client's thinking about. And he gets to prove his guide wrong at one point, and he talks about how joyful that was. I've seen that so many times. A client loves nothing more than for me to be wrong about something, and I'm great with being wrong about stuff. I do it every day. And as we go along, we find out that this guy is terminally ill, and he's hunting a specific bull elephant. He encounters this bull and realizes that the bull's been shot in one of his eyes by a poacher and is dying. And they say, well, you don't have to shoot a wounded elephant. We can go find you a different one. He said, no, this one makes the most sense to me. And he, ends up, crossing this lake with a crocodile and has this adventure and finds this bull and ends up getting it killed. And, returns home to England to find out that a surgery has been developed that might be able to save his life. And what you learn throughout this is that the meeting with the great beast was not him meeting an elephant. The great beast and the thing that he was hunting and the thing that he was trying to kill was the domesticated version of himself, and the version that had accepted his own fate. The version that said, you're dying and you need to do one more thing in life, not as many as you can. And that's what he ended up killing. And I think that we find that in all of hunting, right? If you hunt and you hunt well, you will kill something, but it might not be something that you can hang a tag on. That thing that you kill might be the thing that had accepted a job inside of a cubicle under fluorescent light. It might have been a part of you that was weak and vulnerable and could give up and didn't deal with hardship well. That's what hunting gives us, and it's a lot more than meat. It's a lot more than our friendships and relationships. It's a lot more than a personal sense of conquest or overcoming failure. It's about killing the part of us that is not natural, that we've been forced to accept in today's time.
That was so good, dude. I just want to shut my mouth now and sit on that a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Because it's a whole nother 2 hours of conversation that probably we should have at some point, because you touched on that's one thing that I really, really, really have had a lot of conversations with men lately. And I don't know why, if I'm attracting it because of where I'm at and I need to have that, or if it just is in the air right now. But just so many men, especially, and I always try and include women, women, especially in hunting, men and women. There's some women that are just absolute killers, but I do think men are really bad about this kind of letting that flame go out in them, right? They they get paid to sit in the box. They work in the box. They drive in the box, right? They work on a box, and it's all LED lights, and there's nothing grounded about it. And they go to bed watching a box, and they fall asleep watching the box. And they get up, and the first thing they see is that little mirror that they hold in their pocket that reflects back to them, the likes and the thumbs up and the hearts and all that bullshit. And we're just not meant to be in this. We're not meant to live that way. And I've really my heart's been heavy with how we have that conversation so we can kind of help guide both ourselves and other men into how do we get out of this? How do we get out of that rhythm and go find ourselves? And James, you do a great job. I mean, at least we've never spent time one-on-one in your home. But I mean, boy, what I see on, what you put on mine, it looks like this guy's doing a good job of getting his ass outside,
Thank you. I'm trying.
And he's feeding off this earth, and he's giving back to it. And, and I think that we've really lost touch with that. Really.
No, my solution to so many problems is for someone to go out and kill something and eat it. And I feel like if people can have that experience, that their perspective will shift in a meaningful way.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you keep it from being a drug where you have to go get more and more and more and more? Because I wasn't a military guy. I pretended to be an athlete in my younger life, but both you guys were. And I think sometimes I see a very common thread with you guys that had been in the military, and you come out and you go, I've got to go chase that dragon again. Right. And it's a drug, it's a hit. And I think a lot of us, I got that as an athlete from hunting. But I've seen other guys that keep chasing bigger and better and more and more and more. And it's like, how do we get to where we're happy with, just it being part of us and not having to go find the next big wave?
I'm the worst person to ask.
Yeah.
My appetite for experience and for knowledge and for adventure is insatiable. And I have this thing that I do not like about myself, where I find nothing less satisfying than achievement. Like when I achieve something, it is the most hollow and empty feeling that I ever experience. Getting there, I love, but once I get it, I've got to find something else to go after. I'm not the person who has ever found satiety in an inexperience. I've got to keep trying, and I've got to keep going, but I'm not trying to take, and I'm not exclusively trying to give either, but I do want to share that with people. Like I want to be a leader by example, and show people how good it is to get out there and to try and to keep trying and to learn new things and to expand your knowledge. Like, humans are so incredibly capable, and what a wonderful time to be alive, where we have access to all these phenomenal experiences and resources to be able to go and have the experiences. It's so wild. And like, you can start with nothing and you can get there. When I got out of the Marines, man, I was broke. I was beat to shit. I came back with, a truck that was falling apart. I didn't have any money. My body was broken. My brain didn't work right. I couldn't do ranch work. And I was like, I got to do something. Like, what can I do? It's like, well, I can guide fly fishermen, right? Like, that's a half-mile walk. I can manage that. I had $600, and I started 6 ranch fly fishing with $600. I got loaner rods. I got loaner reels. I tied my own flies, and I started guiding
Your dogs, your hair to tie a
yeah,
drake or something like that.
whatever. Like, I was using scraps, man. Like, everything, it took everything I had to get an LLC and insurance and stuff like that. And I just reinvested, and I worked, and the more I worked, the more I could reinvest. And, pretty soon I had something that was growing, and then it got bigger, and then my capacity to help other people improved along the way. And, I think 4 years after I started that with, next to nothing, I had a custom jet boat with a wheelchair accessible bow that I could take any combat wounded vet fishing in. And then pretty soon I had over 1 million acres of ranches that I could guide on for free, just because of the relationships I had with landowners and the work I was helping them with. And then, along comes, social media and companies wanting to make videos and all this other stuff. And suddenly, like, this childhood dream of being able to make a living as a hunter, not just as a guide, like, it was upon me, and I started to make money doing this. I was like, wait, well, what if I try to do more of that? And now I'm only guiding like 6 weeks out of the year, and the rest of the year I get to hunt and spearfish and fish and travel as a professional and make a living doing that. And I think that it starts with a little bit of risk, and then saying yes to every single opportunity. And if you do that for long enough, then you can start saying no. But for a long time, you better outwork everybody else. Like, I'm always outskilled, but I'm rarely outworked.
Yeah. And that transition is when you got to stop saying yes to everything is a hard one. It's hard. It's a hard habit to break, but it is absolutely necessary to say yes to absolutely. If you're a broke kid like we were and you were, I mean, we didn't have any. There was no fallback. There was no safety net. There was no place to go ask for an extra freaking dollar, let alone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A mortgage payment, right? It was just say yes to everything and just get your freaking knuckles dirty and go to work. So
yeah. And, I had so many people who helped me. Like, I did not bootstrap. Like, I had so many people who were encouraging. And then I had a lot of people who helped me by being discouraging, by telling me at the right time, in the right way, that I wasn't capable of doing something, that I wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't skilled enough. Like, all right, cool. Well, I'll just become that.
Yeah. That's my favorite too, is just tell me I can't. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I need. Like, in fact, I'll like kind of look for it, even with this podcast. I'll shoot my shot with some pretty big names just to get, I know I'm going to get shot down. We have like 100 people that listen to our podcast. They should say no. You know what I mean?
No.
It's not, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it makes sense that they do, but I do it. I think I find myself doing it anyway, just to give myself the motivation to, like, you will be on my podcast someday and you will have said no. And I'm going to use that as motivation to keep going,
They won't be on mine. They won't be on mine if they said no. Look, you've got to remember where you came from.
Right.
Like, you have to remember when you were scrapping it out and nobody would talk to you. Like, how dare I say no to somebody? Like, what an honor. What an honor for somebody to ask you to be on their show. Like, I care enough about your opinion and your experience that I want to hear about it and share that with other people. Somebody would say no to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck that. No, you need to humble up, and you need to think long and hard about what it means to be a human, and do so in a community of people. And like, you figure out your timing. Like, you make it happen. You're not too busy. You can manage this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, but it's good motivation for me.
Yeah.
You know?
And I didn't say that
And
you
I'm-
can't go spearfishing. I said you shouldn't go spearfishing.
Dude,
He's more looking out in that situation.
1,000% going spearfishing, and it's just a matter of whether it's going to be like this week or next week. Right now, I don't know.
I tried to get Bert to go on that marlin fishing trip with me, and he's like, "Oh, whitetail." Cool, man. You can on whitetail for like 6 months in the Carolinas.
Yeah, that's true. That's like, you can sit out there. That's the thing about, like, I don't know if you guys have that but I mean, the whitetail hunting world's so different. I mean, for us, it's like, here, you got 6 days. You know what I mean? This is everything you love to do happens in 6 days with the hunt, with the, say, rifle hunt out here. But whitetail guys are like, yeah, I go out in the morning for 3 months straight. They can walk out behind their house and shoot a deer if they want, It's just what a great world that is. But yeah, Bert needs to go. We had a good conversation the other day. He needs to go adventure a little bit more,
Yeah.
He has a really big job and a lot of people that count on him. And I don't know how many people that give back to this community more than he does. It's absolutely incredible.
He's a lovely guy. He is.
Yeah. Speaking of that, are you going to be Winter Strong in it with us this year?
I will be. Yep. Winter Strong was a pretty pivotal point in my life last year. I hadn't been around like high performance individuals in quite a while. Certainly not a big group of them like that. And I couldn't walk right for about 3 days after that event. Like, I barely made it to my plane. I was hurting bad, but I did it. And I was ashamed. I was ashamed of myself. In the next 6 months, I lost 85 pounds. And I am back in the same shape that I was in before I got hurt in the Marines, or pretty close to it, as close to it as I can get. Yeah, Winter Strong was a big deal for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but it's like, I remember the mustache, but like a little rounder face. I kind of got roped into serving. So I saw everybody for about 3 minutes last year. Not roped in. We asked that we could help out, and give back a little bit. So I was kind of I was in the kitchen the whole time.
That ain't gonna lecture.
That's a safe space.
I heard the competition was pretty gnarly, though.
The competition was rowdy, dude. It was rowdy. I think those sled pulls were probably the thing that gassed most people the most. I didn't see all of it because I was doing dishes, but when I could run out and see what I could see, I watched the sled pull comp, and I was like, dude, the first couple, not a big deal, right? But all of a sudden, that cycle of how often you had to go was like, oh, these guys are only resting about 25 or 30 seconds. And then it's 100% effort for 15. And then you're back you put that in a workout, you write that on the dry erase board, somebody's dying. It was nasty.
Yeah. I felt okay with that one. That was one of the things that I could sink my teeth into. But I hadn't run in quite a long time.
Yeah.
And if you maybe take 10 years off of running and then get straight into it in the sand, and then
sand, people do not understand how. I mean, people understand, but you don't think about it until you're trying to run in that South Carolina sand.
Yeah. But I mean, because there was like seals around, there's no earthly way I was going to quit or complain about anything. I'm far enough away from it now that I am pretty comfortable saying that was rough. But no, the day that a Marine quits anything while a SEAL is present, like that's the end of times.
Yeah,
dude. And that's a gathering of some bad mothers,
great people,
and some sleepers. Sleepers. It is the nicest group of most loving, gentle murderers you've ever been around in your life. Like, there is just, and I'm bigger than most everybody there, and I am well aware of where I land. on the totem pole, and it's the totem pole and then a pile of shit and me below it, because there are some savage humans there.
It's a massive collection of people with imposter syndrome.
100%.
Like
100%.
I think almost everyone there is looking around and thinking, why am I here?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yep. It's kind of like, may I please carry your lunch for you, sir? And do you need anything else? That's how I feel the whole time.
yeah. But I think everybody's feeling that way. And then they somehow get comfortable enough to get to the point where they're like, hey, I've got this little piece of knowledge. Anybody else want it? And everybody else is like, yeah, I do. And
Absolutely.
and like that is the core of it. And then you get stressed out and then you eat some food. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you ever want to feel like your fitness is not on point, just go sit in that sauna, at 6:30 in the morning with all those, like, everybody's like, I just retired from the NFL. Oh yeah, NFL, professional hockey. All right, you know what I mean? You're looking around going, God, I need to try harder. I'm a fat bastard.
Yeah.
Right now.
I mean, you've got professional strength athletes, professional hunters, and special forces. Like, what an interesting amalgam.
It really
Yeah.
is. Yes.
Yeah.
And then you look at some quads and you're like, I wish mine were that big. And you look up and it's a woman. And you're like, okay, good. Even the women here have bigger legs.
Did good.
Yeah.
That's great.
No,
Yeah.
it's lovely. So yes, I'll be going back to Winter Strong. I'm excited for it. Going to SHOT Show, going to maybe Western Hunt Expo, and then I'm going to go host a hunt in New Zealand, and then come back, and it should be damn near bear season by then.
Yeah. I love it. Good. Well, I feel bad for our listeners because I just got caught up in just bullshitting with you, James. And Tyrel, if you feel like some of this doesn't belong, you can cut it out.
This was awesome, dude. Really, really appreciate you. This was so fun.
Maybe one of the easiest podcasts I've done, and I appreciate you carrying all the weight, James.
Yeah.
It's great conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys very much for your time and for the offer.
Ton of knowledge. Yeah. Thank you.
And literally I have 2 more hours of questions and we just can't get to it. So I'll watch all the videos on Instagram and I'll pick up what I can pick up and we'll talk when I see you in about a month.
We'll do it again whenever you want.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, thanks for your time and energy, bud. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
See you guys.
Oodle-lolly-oo.